Hello, this video is going over trimming. So as you can see, I'm kind of trying to get it stuck to the wheel. Sometimes they don't stick properly when you have them flipped over. So what I did there was cleaned off the bottom edge so that it will stick to the wheel. It doesn't always work on the first try. So this item is a wind chime, and I throw these upside down. See, doesn't want to stick still. Okay, refasten. Now, they're like a large bell, so I throw them just a tall cylinder, and then I trim them into this shape. So it's really more, the trimming in this one is more important than the throwing itself. The trimming is what brings the piece together. So what I do is I throw the large cylinder, and then the following day I trim it down so that all of the throw marks are out. It's a smooth surface. And then I cut a hole in the top so that I can put all my pieces together. So you can see there I'm kind of cutting a hole through the top of it, smooth it out. And this one is a little bowl that I ended up making into a candle. And you can see the rough edges along the sides. I'm having trouble sticking again. Recenter. What I do is put a little bit of water on the wheel, and then I use a little bit of pressure to fasten it down. Sometimes they stick, sometimes they don't. But I really don't like using those tools that like kind of sandwich it in, and I don't like wedging clay around it because then I end up with a mark all along the top edge, or you can warp the top edge, which I really hate. So I just deal with it coming off. And I trim a foot into everything except for the wind chimes so that I can put my little signature there. I like to paint in there. Kind of ties it in together. I can make sure it's all flat and smooth. Trimming's like the most satisfying part. So now I sign and clean it off. I like to sign the year on all of my pieces, and that way my customer knows it's handmade and I made it to order, just like it says on my Etsy shop. Now, cleaning up these edges is super important because you don't want to let it dry with all of your fingerprints and your marks on there, or they're going to show up in your bisque fire and your paint, and you're going to have to sand it down and all that stuff. So the more work you do here before you actually let it dry, the better off your piece is going to look in the end. So this is one of the larger dog bowls with the paw prints, and I make these all custom. I offer 2 different styles of bowl, and each of them has multiple variations. So I just make them after they're ordered because I don't have the space to just have like a ton of bowls sitting around. So if somebody orders one in this size, I have 3 different sizes. This one is the larger. The width is between 6 and 7 inches for a little bit larger dog. I just make them as they're ordered. So this one looks like paw prints. So what I'll do is I throw it, and then I put the paw prints in, and I leave a space for the name. And then when I trim it, I'll go back and reprint each of those paws so they're nice and crisp. And then I go over them all with the sponge so there's no like raised sharp edges. Now these are the bottom pieces of my wind chimes that I cut out, And then I like to smooth out all the edges on those as well, because I don't want any sharp spots or uneven edges, and I don't want them to warp when they dry. So I just cut them all out, and then I go through and sponge each side. Sometimes after they dry, I have to do that again. Now this is my medium size bowl, which is 4 to 5 inches wide, and those ones hold about, if I remember right, it's 2 cups of food. So it's a pretty decent amount, actually, that fits in that little bowl. But they're super cute. You can customize them with your pet's name on it. Make them for cats and dogs and whatever you want to use it for. There's bone prints, there's paw prints, there's heart prints, all different variations and colors. So I do get a lot of orders for those, and then I just make them once they're ordered, because if I were to make a bunch of extra ones, then I would need 30 extra bowls for all the variations. So it's kind of fun. You get to pick and choose what you want on it. And then I have to reprint all of those, clean it all off. Want to make sure it's nice and smooth all the way around. Now this is my smallest option, which I just recently added. Not sticking again. And it's 3 to 4 inch wide. So that one holds a little bit between half cup and a cup of food. So each one has a foot on it. I do that on all of my pieces so I could sign the bottom. I paint the inside, I paint that little bottom foot, and then I paint inside each print. So they have to be deep enough to paint in and clean enough for you to see each one. And we don't want any raised edges or sharp spots. So these ones are, I think, bones all the way around. So some people like to get them without the name on there. They'll just do the pattern, and then you can pick whatever color you want. And I did do this video in 2x speed, just so you can get the gist of it, but it does take me a little longer than this. This one's another wind chime. See how I round off that whole edge. Those are my favorite to trim. Like, you can get them nice and smooth and clean, and takes off a bunch of weight and extra clay. And at the end of the video, I'll put in some pictures of these finished, so you can see. In case you haven't seen them in my other videos, you can see what they look like when they're done and put together. And then I'll link also to my Etsy shop. The wind chimes, I do have, like 6 or 7 different options and pattern. So those ones I make extras of here and there, but they're also made to order. I've tried to make them where I have extra stock of them, and I just can't seem to. Every time I make extras, they're gone in a couple days, and then I'm back at square one. So those ones are made to order as well. Now this one, these have been really hard to get to stick to the wheel, because I push in that top edge, because this is a cup for that top edge is pushed in so that a straw can go in there. So I can't actually get a suction to the wheel head with it upside down. So I've been trimming them right side up to kind of get some of that excess off the bottom, clean it up, make it look nice. And then That way I can paint a pattern on it once the bisque fire's over. But you can trim it upside down or right side up. You just have to, for these I have to go really slow when I turn them around so that they don't fall over and I ruin the piece. But I've been loving making these cups. I'll link those down at the bottom as well so you can kind of see how they look when they're finished. This one I did with a star print for the straw hole. That one's already sold, but there's a couple still left in my Etsy shop, so I'll link that down below and you can see the different patterns. Most of them are heart print, and then I did some stars and some flowers, so those were really fun. Just a little something different. Nice cup to have at home. I've been using them for my iced coffee in the afternoon. Keep your drinks nice and cold. And they're unique. Everyone's different, which is really fun. So see, this one has kind of a rounded top, and then some of them I shape into a heart up at the top. And then I cut out a little heart so that you can put the straw through it there. And those are really important to clean up. You don't want any sharp pieces there, especially anything you eat or drink out of. So if you leave any like burrs on there, they're gonna come out sharp in the bisque fire. So that's how the cups look finished. The bowls, the wind chimes, and these are those name and printed bowls.